Hello, everyone. Happy Sunday. Welcome into Jason's World. Yay! I recorded a video just a couple minutes ago, and it was the biggest mess of all videos I've ever made in my entire life. So it was called Delete and Start Over. So here we are. Yay! So I just, I sat down to do a haul video on some of the things that I bought in Springfield, Ohio, and some of the things I bought at Hartfield Flea Market, and some of the things that I acquired, over the last few days. And for some reason, the universe was like, stop. This is not right. This is not going to happen. So I'm at my parents' house. And I'm a little tired out. I could tell you all about my personal life, but had to help a friend, with some landscaping and some, basic yard work. And anyways, so I'm a little tired out. My neck was kind of bothering me. But here we are, and happy Sunday. Thank you all so much. And when I get anxious or upset or angry or whatever, there's some sort of comfort with this, and there's some sort of resolve with this. And I can't put it into words, but I can thank you. And I can say, thank you for being my friend. And thank you for being here with me when my days aren't perfect and when I can't find the right human words. It was, like I said, it was definitely a video that needed to be deleted. Bye-bye. So that's why we have the ability to censor ourselves, right? When we're not perfect. So anyways, I thank you all so much for accepting me when I'm far from perfect. So thank you. One of the rings that I had made that I had pulled onto my live chit chat, my live interview with Jack Storms, the incredible glass artist. I brought this on for a quick show and tell, and look at this. It's a gigantic lucite piece, and this was actually salvaged off of it was like where you put like an old memo papers, and where you'd have a pen like on a spring, like on a coil, and you would write yourself like notes, like a notepad, and this was on the top of it, and it kind of opened up into like a metal kind of like Rolodex, if you will. But this was on the top of it, and the whole thing was rusted and falling apart. And I found this, I think that I made this ring in 1998. So if you could imagine, the young me, not referring to myself in the third person because I know that's annoying for some people. Not for me, not for Jason. Anyways, this is amazing, and it's sterling silver and completely hand constructed. And I love this, but this was made in 1998, and I'll slip this ring off. I also made that one. You've all seen that before, made out of tubing, but I'll slip this on so you can show you. It's a totally wearable piece of sculpture, and I made this in 1998. So I had graduated the university in 1997. Yeah, 1997. And this I made a year after I graduated. So I made these beautiful sterling silver prongs, very heavy, and then constructed onto this giant sterling silver cage. And I actually made this, I didn't have my studio set up at the time in 1998. I made this in my parents' garage. So this was made at my parents' garage in Cleveland. But look at that confetti lucite top. And then I constructed this cage out of sterling silver as I peer through this gigantic sculpture. To most people, this wouldn't make sense as a ring, and I understand that. But I was trained, as a conceptual artist. As I scoot my chair over, I was trained as a conceptual artist. This is all about fashion and concept. And then I filled inside of this, I filled it in with peacock feathers, and then soldered on a sterling silver band, and it needed to be that wide so that this ring wouldn't like topple over when you would wear it. So it was very balanced, even though gigantic and large and oversized. I wanted to go with fashion. I wanted to go with fun. I wanted to push the boundaries. We were taught in school to break every boundary. We were taught in school to think outside of the box. So what else would be, it was only based on fashion and a tiny little bit of concept on this. But yeah, that's, a ring. And maybe that will be the thumbnail for this, for this video will be me or looking surprised, like everybody does. Clickbait is a wonderful thing on YouTube. If you look surprised, you'll get more views. So hopefully this will get gigantic views. Anyways, so that's sterling silver and constructed in 1998. And I really love this very, very much. And, you know, the peacock feathers have went completely crazy over the years and have kind of broken out of that, you know, bird cage per se. So just fun and fashionable, whimsical. So I wanted to bring that on because I briefly, you know, flashed that ring. And, you know, from 1998, it's held up really well. And I would actually wear it out and about, you know, bars, clubs, benefits, special events, you know, at weddings. I didn't like to blend in. And I most certainly didn't like to outdress the brides per se. And then this is the thistle flower. And I was going to save this for a future video. I felt like as I hit kind of my stride on YouTube, I didn't know if people who were my viewers would want to see about my art, and yet that's one of the things that my channel is now really well known for. And something that I've left out over the last, you know, maybe a couple months, I think with me deciding my direction in life with retiring from being an auction advisor and taking myself as a reseller much more serious once again, because I've never left that. You know, I never left that world. And I've been doing it for so long now that I naturally just went right back into it. You know, I talk about the ebb and flow of things. I talk about, you know, the ebb and flow of, you know, the ocean. There's an ebb and there's a flow. When you resist that, it's tiring because you have to tread water. You know, it's tiring to take that sidestep in maybe a profession, if I can say it that way. And my metals and my silversmithing was never going to be really my profession because I wanted to make things that I wanted to make, that I had to make, that I had the courage to create. And these, you know, these flowers, I did 16 of them, and I showed one on the live interview on Tuesday night, the milkweed pod that opens with all of the parts. And this is the thistle. And I've yet to bring this on, but, you know, here we are in the imperfectness of that first video that I just did. And, you know, I've always told people, I don't edit my videos because I don't cut and splice things together. It seems weird and contrived and awkward and strange. It's not for this guy. You know, it's just not for me. But I put this in an art glass vase. So there's this, you know, art glass vase that kind of, you know, leads up to this thistle. And the whole arrangement is in another vase in the house. So when I take one out, I need something to put it in. So I chose this vintage art glass vase that is this incredible, beautiful, heavenly blue that runs down into like celery green and purple. It is signed on the bottom and there's the pontil. But I really loved the directionalness of look at this. You know, it's beautiful, but look at this. And this is what it's all about. I constructed this flower out of flat sheet of sterling silver, and it's a thistle. And this was the first one of the series, and this was my thesis show from, you know, the university to be able to graduate. And this is the thistle. I think there's 525 parts, hand fabricated, out of sterling silver, flat sheet wire and tubing. The only thing that isn't silver are these tiny little garnet beads underneath that hold these articulating tendrils in place. And as thistles dry, they're not only very prickly. Obviously, I ran these sterling wires through and kind of put them on the stem. They're not only prickly and, you know, very harsh to touch, but you know, a thistle, when it's, you know, alive, is still very, you know, very sharp. The garnet beads were to remind us of, in this concept of this, it was like bloodshed or an injury, and maybe not always physical, you know, and I let my work kind of go there spiritually, maybe sometimes when we're spiritually damaged. So there's higher concept when you see all 16 flowers together. It's not just about pretty. But at the time, I was studying the work of Faberge. And Faberge was a master of making things look real that were made out of gold, or they did a dandelion. You'll have to look it up if you don't know this, but they did a dandelion that was actually made out of gold and asbestos fibers. They actually used asbestos fibers to make that portion of a dandelion when it dries out and the seeds become ready to fly, they used asbestos fibers to simulate that. So I was looking at the realism of Faberge and, taking on the perfection of Mother Nature. There's nothing more perfect than nature, there's nothing more beautiful than nature in the world, according to me, according to my life. And on the inside of this is where the secret is. And I hope I didn't lose anyone yet, because here comes the grand reveal. There's always the Jason reveal, and it is a real thing. There I go again, third person. So you open this up, and there's a tiny little hinge right here. And here's the magical part. There are, yeah, those are all sterling silver. And then you can see how I constructed this. So I made a cone shape, which is separate, from this. There's a little hinge right there. So I constructed this entire thing. There's nothing cast. There's nothing borrowed. I didn't job this out to anybody else. This is me all the way through. I even drew down this piece of really crooked tubing. I drew this down through the drawing mill, and there's the seam on the bottom. Why there's green in there, that's foam that these sit in to hold them upright in the larger vase. But I hand draw down this tubing. I didn't even buy tubing. I wouldn't let anything bought touch my work. I wouldn't let bought hinges touch my work. I wouldn't let tubing that was already tubing touch my work. So I drew this down from a flat sheet of sterling silver, and then I manipulated this to give this movement. Anyways, I digress. On the inside, I raised this cone of sterling silver. But before I raised the cone, I decided to lay out a piece of paper with all the drill holes of where I needed to drill the cone. So I drilled all of those out because I knew that I was going to pass through a wire. It was going to have a loose end, and then I was going to attach these leaves on the outside of this thistle, and I wanted all of them to move freely. So these all move freely. Very, very sharp still. Very jagged, very sharp, just like the natural flower. I knew that if I didn't cast this was the closest I was going to get to real. Remember when I first made these, I had said they were paper white. The inside shows exactly the color of what the outside looked like. At my show, all 16 flowers were completely paper white. They were as white as my beard. They were paper white because I raised the fine silver to the surface of the sterling, and they weren't oxidized, but now they're oxidized to this like steely gray, and you can see my solder seam on the inside. That's where I soldered the cone together. Once I laid the cone out on a flat sheet, I raised the cone into this form, and then I soldered this half-round dome that's very hidden down in there, this half-round dome of sterling silver to the very top of the thistle to complete the top of it, because I knew that I was going to be able to cold connect each one of these. So you have to start the process by putting your first one with a pair of long tweezers. Put your first beaded wire that I hand beaded. I put the hand beaded wire through the hole with the bare wire end, and then I curled that around on the outside where there was a hole drilled in each leaf. I wish I had one of the leaves that is separate, because I made extra parts, obviously. I have one of the leaves that is separate that you would actually see. You might be able to see it on the edge here, where I drilled a hole through that, quote, leaf, which I cut out by hand, cut. I cut them out by hand. And then look at the little curl on that wire. So then that holds the leaf in place where that seed or the little beaded wire holds that to the surface. But look at that inside. There was something about the concept of this work, which I don't want to get into in this video, because once I settle in on YouTube a little bit more, I would like to bring on all 16 flowers. I would like to bring on the labor of love that took me 4.5 months to make, start to finish, all out of sterling silver. But this was the thistle, one of the largest, one of the most complex of the flowers, and the start of the whole thing. So this started me, and there was a reason why this work began, and an amazing magical experience that I had with nature and with binding me to a person that I had lost touch with in life that meant an awful lot to me. So there was personal, what do I say? Personal meaning. And I wanted the viewers to see nothing but beauty. I wanted the viewers to see an artist single-handedly trying to accomplish making something that looked like what Mother Nature had done. I felt like I was competing with perfection. And I think, in its own representation, I give people the chance to have serenity with these things, and they did. They had an amazing, magical time. On the bottom of this is the only one that's like this, but on the bottom of this, I decided to use two of the domes that I used from the top here to repeat a form. And this little compartment, I will open it up, and I hope, let's put it back in the vase so I don't really mess things up here. Let me open this up. Well, let's do it this way. Let's make sure I don't spill this all over. So the only hidden thing here is in this tiny little locket. Those are the seeds for the thistle, and you can see how paper white that little locket is. So that locket contains the seeds of the original thistle that I used as a pattern for this. So let me close that down and snap this shut. Oops, I almost didn't snap it shut. Oh, almost a little blunder. Wouldn't be a Jason video without a blunder. Oh, and speaking of blunders, the one before this that got deleted. We don't think about that. That's in the past. But I don't think in my now 8 months of YouTube, I don't think I've ever deleted a video. And it was a no-no. It was for sure no. Anyways, so the universe decided that as I struggle, nope, it's back together now. But there's like a little clasp that holds that pod together that contains the seeds of the original thistle for the pattern, for this incredible creation that, I still, all these years later, I look at this and I marvel at the fact that I was able to make something so beautiful and something so natural. And, we as humans, all of us, have an innate ability to sometimes surprise ourselves in the best way. And I think I like to focus on that. I think this is a constant reminder, at least in my house, amongst, a lot of other giants, that are much, much larger, that are, antiques and historically important. I look at this and it's just a little whisper, it's just a little reminder of what I was able to accomplish early on in my artistic career. And also, I've talked about it, the legacy that I leave behind, so although I won't last forever, this potentially will. Again, created out of sterling silver and my own two hands, and an artistic mind's eye that it was only supposed to be a thing of beauty. And I hope that it is. And I would love for you in your comments to kind of tell me your feelings on this, or if you have any questions on, the construction or what I do, that I'll answer you. That you're one of the most important parts of me doing this channel, and to show this and to share my journey. A lot of people don't get this opportunity, and I will never take it for granted. I really appreciate how I feel. It feels amazing. I've said it before, and I thank you all so, so much for the constant support and the kindness. I have a tendency to struggle sometimes for the right words, and I hope I don't let you down, when I don't find the exact thing to say, or I struggle, or, if my neck is tight and I feel anxious, or, or I have something else on my mind. But I came up to see my parents, and Jeremy and my mom and my dad are waiting for me, so I didn't want to stay on much longer. But thank you so much again. I know that you, many of you have asked to see, and so my channel is basically, educational on the history of jewelry, and then, showing you some of the things that I shop for, showing you some of the things that I look for, and isn't based on my art. So I would say a gigantic thank you for being invested in my art as well, because it is, after all, an extension of myself and my personal life and the things that I've been through. And like I said, a legacy that I will leave behind so lovingly. And haven't really spent a lot of time with this in probably the last 12 to 15 years of my life. So it was an amazing thing to have a video go wrong. And again, you know, the universe and God deciding that that video wasn't perfect, but hopefully this one is. And so thank you so much for joining in. I love you so, so much. Go have a beautiful Sunday. And I will see you this week with some really amazing videos. Tuesdays should be fantastic. I don't know when it'll air, but Tuesday's video should just be magnificent. So thank you so, so much. I love you. I truly do. Mwah.